right, hitting the button. Three, two, one, go.
I'm still sitting up.
I'm Pat.
Okay, introduce the show.
There's no William here. It is coffee before bed.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah,
Um,
William is out camping.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
He told me that. Yeah, I knew that. We saw pictures of it. Yeah.
I did not. So my fucking phone. So and it's message settings.
Yeah. What was the problem?
I don't know, dude. So there's like three group chats that are open there, and two of them work, and one of them doesn't. I was surprised. So you sent me that forklift thing,
Yeah.
so which is glorious. So,
Well,
but it's the first picture that you've sent me in ages. So I was like, oh shit, I actually got a picture from Jeff. Sweet. And so let me try and hit it back, and you got the one of the two kittens that I have.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yep.
So then I was trying to do it with Will, and it doesn't work. So I don't know.
He was having problems with that too. I think now that I thought about it and I wasn't, sleeping like I was the other day.
Oh, you were sleeping? I'm sorry, man.
Don't ever apologize. No, my
Yeah.
sleeping. This is. I said this to Will, and Will knows this too. He's like, I never have an idea when you're sleeping. Like you
Yeah, that's
can't,
true.
and you
Yeah.
never will. So you
Yeah.
never have to apologize for
I
it.
was just surprised you responded. So when someone texts me while I'm sleeping, I'd miss it because my phone's always off. So
Sometimes I get it. Sometimes I know what I'm saying.
oh,
Sometimes I
okay.
don't.
Yeah.
So it's
Got it. Yeah, no, mine's set up where like if you call me, it'll punch through. So because if you call me, then something's fucked up. You need to come pick you up or something. I got it. All right, or you got a flat tire, you got a bad jack. I got you, man. So
when's the last time I called you just for like, hey, how you doing, man?
it's
Just
been yeah, I don't more than a decade. I think ever since I got that one phone that flipped open with the keys that you can type on. So rather than the scroll wheel where it's set through the preset, what was it, the old Nokia phones or whatever it was?
yeah, sure,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah, still
yeah.
those.
Where you had the text library. So yeah, it's been a long time, but it is set where if you call me or if like my brother calls me, my wife calls me, my mom calls me, it punches through. Okay, but if it's sleepy time, my phone is fucking on silent, man. And so because otherwise, like, I mean, I get bombarded with emails all day long. So through because I've got three different email accounts. So and um same thing with all the like notifications and stuff that I have on different things, and yeah, it's like easier to just turn it off rather than go in there and set all the notifications away that I want them for my sleep hours,
Yeah.
which are random anyway. Well, not as random as yours, but yeah,
Well, again, that's why I don't get mad about it. Is like I
yeah, I got you.
understand that it's bizarre, because like Will tried to pin it down. He told me he was like trying to do the mental math on it before. He's like, "Oh man," so I tried to call you at like 7 in the morning, and you said you were asleep. And then another time I tried to call you at like 11 in the afternoon or in the morning. You were asleep. It's like then I tried to call you at 2 one time. Like
He's
you
trying
were
to find your
asleep.
battleship.
He is, and
E4.
he's like, "You do this every day?" I'm like, "Oh, of course not. No." And
Right.
this is, of course, the before when I was doing all those appointments and stuff. So he's like,
Oh
and,
yeah.
and every other time that I try to reach you, you're working. So he's like, I don't know, like, hey, dude, you get me, you get me. If I'm
Yeah, yeah,
sleeping
yeah,
and
yeah.
sleeping, if I notice it, I do. And sometimes I'll hear the notification and I'll like tap buttons and I'll say things, and
Mm.
sometimes I won't.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I don't know. My phone, like, I don't, it's one of those things where if I get a notification while I'm just falling asleep, it'll wake me right back up, man.
Oh
And I hate that.
yeah,
I
yeah.
hate that. So now if I fall asleep and it starts going off, the only thing that'll actually wake me up is the ring. So, but like I can usually fall asleep fairly quickly now. So it usually takes me about 15, 20 minutes. So, but if you hit me towards the tail minute of that 15 minutes, it'll wake me right back up and I gotta start over again. So, yeah.
It's weird too because you're right, because it's sort of like a like if you miss the landing, you can't just like you have to circle back
You got to go
around,
all
man.
the way back
Yeah,
around. Yeah. Get back in the pattern.
it's
Yeah.
and other people can land before you can and shit. It's
Yeah. So, no, my wife's been having trouble falling asleep lately. So, kind of tag team on that one. So, but I haven't had a bout of insomnia in a while. So, I used to get those about 2, 3 times a year. So,
no, I'm good now.
are you?
I don't really have problems with that at this point. But then again, it's typically because I sleep in smaller chunks now.
Oh, okay.
But that that could be changing here soon enough.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I just like as soon as I got a job where I didn't have to fight my body anymore, it was like, oh, okay, that solved about 90% of my
That's
problems.
sort of where I'm at right
Yeah,
now because
yeah,
I'm not beholden to anyone's schedule at any point at this.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, that solved a lot of the problem. Now I know some people like really need dad. Like my brother's like dad. Like even days off, he gets up the same fucking time. My dad was like that. So you
As
need
was
that.
mine.
Yeah, you need that routine. So it could be even like on fucking Christmas Day. If Dad slept into like 6:30, it was late.
And that'd be maybe the one day of the year that you're getting up before dad anyway.
It usually was, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, the only time he didn't do that was when we were camping. So, but he was still almost always the first person up. So yeah, rummaging around making coffee. Go do a little fishing before breakfast, kind of thing. But yeah, no, my brother's kind of like that too. Me, no,
Nope.
nope. So
Nope. Not even a little bit.
no, years of graveyard shifts have fucking ruined it permanently. And so that was 20 years ago too, man. And it's still like, I mean, it's not going back to the way that it was because I used to be that guy. I used to be the 6 o'clock in the morning guy, no problem.
Yep.
So yeah, my first job where I had biddable shifts where I could actually choose, I was always like, "What's the earliest one you got?" So
First one is first one out.
yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah. The only time I did that where I kind of regretted it was there was like one summer at the airport where we had an early flight. It was like a 5:30 a.m. flight. And it wasn't really nobody flew on it. It was just it came in the night before. Okay, and like the early evening. And so, the crew got their 8 hours of sleep. And so the whole point was to get that fucker out of there as fast as they could and get it, down to the hub kind of thing. And so sometimes you'd have people on it because they like that early flight, but man, I had to be there at 4 in the morning. That was a little brutal. So that one, as soon as I could get off, well, actually, I think they stopped the plane. Yeah, they stopped that one before we had a shift change, and immediately we were like, "We're doing a shift bid right now."
Okay.
Yeah. So because this is bad, man. But it was cool because they get out at like 1. So
Yeah. Exactly.
yeah, I mean, back then we always had like the afternoon flights at like 2 or 3, and so it'd be like, "See you, fuckers."
Hmm.
Yep, this one's your problem.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was nice. But yeah, getting up at like 3:15 and then doing the super shit shower and shave, like the super fast version of it every morning. So, and then driving half an hour out there. So it was pretty tight. So
Yeah, but usually, I mean, you're not fighting that much traffic at 3 o'clock in the morning. But
no, it's just distance at that point in
yeah.
time. It was just distance. So yeah.
Well, see, that's the thing is like a 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock thing is almost enough where you close your day with that instead of beginning.
I did that on accident a couple times. I could not make it. So yeah, it
Fine.
was by like 10 o'clock in the morning. I was like, I'm gonna die. Now when I worked in Denver, all right, and I was on a graveyard shift there for about a year. I would do that sometimes. I would flip it all the way around. But we had 10-hour shifts there. So you get 3 days off to recover. So, it was like, all right, if I have to pull one like that, maybe it'll give me a little bit longer of a weekend. So,
Well, it's not necessarily like pulling that. It was that so this was the shit that Will would do. I didn't really do this all that often, but Will could do this where um so my scheduling always sort of revolved around the work hours, right? And
mhm,
so I would just whatever it is, like whether it's 7 in the morning, noon, 7 at night,
mhm,
right? whenever the shift was going to start, I'm waking up about an hour before that,
Okay.
right? Whereas Will, for him, like when we were working together, that dude would get up like 6 hours before his shift would start,
Oh, geez.
and stuff
Oh,
like
yeah.
this,
No, I can't do that.
and he'd be doing stuff, and then he'd work, and then like I don't know,
I need a
man.
cool down time afterwards, man. The only time, like when I was working graveyard shifts, yeah, this was up in Denver again. I learned the trick. If you're working graveyard shift and if it's during the winter, you need to get home before the sun comes up, man.
There's that, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So because otherwise you're gonna wake up and you're gonna get your second or third wind. And then during the summer, I would do that. I would just power through and then sleep. Okay, like in the afternoon. Because usually like the hottest part of the day, and so you cool the house down real good and
Yeah.
close up all the shit.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And then sleep until about an hour before. Well, up there my commute was almost an hour, so that sucked. So but,
Yeah, that's awful.
yeah, and there was no avoiding it. It was just the way the shifts worked. So in Denver, traffic is just it's like here you get like an hour and a half where it's bad. Up there, it's like 4 hours twice a day.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So it's completely different. So here, it's maybe 2 hours twice a day. So tops. So
Yeah, some industries like to call those peak times.
peak times,
Yeah.
yes, and of course, and I mean everybody's shift. Even like in that place, even though let's see, graveyard, we had 10-hour shifts. Everybody else had eights. And so that was what 2 hours of overlap. Yeah, so we get an hour turnover between each shift, kind of thing. But the day shifts were all based on school schedules. So it's like, I got to get my kids into school. It's all based on what DPS's schedule was.
Really?
So, yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, just about any place that I've worked that was union based, with the exception of the railroad, that's kind of how it defaulted. It was like, all right, so are you the person who does the schedule? Okay, so everybody's gonna bitch at you, because I got to get my kids I got to drop them off at school by 7 o'clock. So let's make sure the shift starts at 8, kind of thing.
Never really thought about it like that.
It happens all the time.
No,
So,
it makes perfect. Well, I don't have kids, so
Yeah.
I mean, but I guess in hindsight, there, I'm just kind of thinking of the person in charge of the scheduling. If he was just kind of like, your kids are your problem. These are so if that dude.
Yeah.
Now, are you talking about 3 or are you talking about 2? 3 shifts or 2 shifts?
These were 3.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if you said okay, so shift 1 starts at 12:01 a.m. and ends at 8 a.m.
See, actually, the 2 places where this was actually going on, it was dictated by the contract. So the
Okay.
contract said you'll have 3 shifts. The first shift will start no earlier than 6 a.m. and no later than 8 a.m. And then the second shift would start no later than like 2 p.m. or no earlier than noon and no later than 2 p.m. And that was actually in the contract. So hands are tied on that.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah, because then that would be
The railroad was the best.
12 to 8, 8 to 4, 4 to 4 to midnight.
4 to midnight. Yeah. Oh my God, that's terrible. Unless you can
Give
hold
the
the 8
math.
to 4, yeah. No, almost every place that works is like 6 to 2, 2 to 10, and then 10 to 6. So if it's on a 24-hour clock,
6 to 2,
6 to 2, yeah,
2 to 10,
2 to
10
10.
to 6.
So you have days, swings, mids, or grave. So yeah. But at that place up in Denver, we had, I mean, it was such a shit show, and it was actually baked in the contract that we had hour turnover period. So
Yeah,
between each
yeah,
shift, and
yeah.
so
Mhm.
that meant that graveyard shift, we got 10-hour shifts. So we actually started at 8 p.m. and we got out at 6. So yeah, which was kind of nice. So
Was there a diff?
it was like a $2 diff on that one.
Holy
It was a lot.
shit.
It was a lot. So yeah, it was a lot.
That's a diff, man. That's a real diff.
I gotta tell you, I think swing shift actually had $1. So at that place, when I worked other places, like when I worked for the airline, man, I think my shift diff and I was swing shift was like a nickel.
Yeah, that's the thing is there are a lot of places that didn't even diff the swing shift. It was only
Mm-hmm.
the late shift. Yeah.
That place had a pretty. This was at Frontier. This was before they went bankrupt and fucking shed all their union contracts, but I
Mm.
for obvious reasons. So, but yeah, I think yeah, I had a $2 shift diff. So, which was really good at the time. I don't know. I don't can't remember. My wage was somewhere around like 12 or $11 an hour, which was pretty good at that time. Remember the first airline I worked for, man? I was 425. So
People just don't know.
they just don't know,
You
man.
know,
Yeah,
it's just
it was 425, and then while I was there, it raised to 515, if I'm not mistaken, and that was the biggest raise I ever got at that place. So, and then I think a year later, it went to like 585, or maybe like 2 years later. So, um,
yeah. I'm trying to
yeah,
think about it. Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, that was a long time ago, though, man. So,
Oh, I know, and look, I understand that there are going to be people that still like they talk about like, well, you get a Hershey's for a nickel, you know, whatever. It's like, all right, you
oh
know,
yeah,
it's fine.
yeah.
I mean, I make this joke all the time. This one dude, like, I was telling you this about this the other day, where, you know, people were doing some of those things where they were trying to, you know, make you feel old. It's the thing where they say like, I think I told you about this, like 2040 is closer to you than
Oh yeah,
2000.
yeah.
And so one dude was just sort of like screwing around with this, and he was intentionally like misdating certain things.
Just to fuck with people
Where
in
he
the
was like
comments.
saying like,
That's kind of brilliant.
yeah, I thought that was funny, and yeah, so there was one dude who was just like, so the first Lego Ninjago came out in 1983. You look now, and so
Yeah, he's totally fucking with
yeah,
you.
so you know, I just kind of like piggybacked it. I was like, did you know that in 1983, when the first Ninjago came out, the average set was $11. Converted to today's money is 146,211.
Yeah, this one piece would buy your house now. Yeah.
Yes, you know,
God, that's
I
fucking funny.
yeah,
Yeah, that's actually that's got a stroke of genius behind it because there was I mean
I know.
yeah there are
I was like, I'm here for this.
so I've fallen for that a couple times on YouTube videos here and there, man. But then I got wise to that a little while ago. But you know, just like if you do anything that has anything to do with any kind of like verifiable fact, all right, you will
Oh,
have
yeah.
a fucking train of guys who will just sit there and oh, let me bust out the book on you, you know, kind of thing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and so to intentionally troll those dudes is actually pretty fucking brilliant. So
Yeah, because the comments aren't there's not enough, you know, smiley faces and
right.
laughter. It's a lot of like, that didn't come out in '83.
Oh my god, yeah, clutching pearls all the way, man. Yeah, I know. So, that's pretty good, man.
Yeah, I got a chuckle on it, and yeah, there were a couple people they took me serious. They were like, "In what, Venezuelan dollars?" I was like, you know, I'm just gonna let
In
this one
Saudi
slide.
Real,
Yeah.
So this is back when yen was actually worth money, you know. So,
Oh well, that would have been the '80s. Yeah,
oh.
it would have been the time of the Japanese takeover.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Nakatomi Towers everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
You know what happened to them?
got blowed the fuck up, man.
Well, I don't mean the towers. I'm just
Oh.
talking about the
Oh, the Japanese.
yeah.
Yeah, they stopped having kids. So
Mhm.
yeah, that
Guess who that's happening to now?
everybody
Yeah.
except for America. So. And
You-
apparently France. So France, you still have like 3 fucking kids. So yeah, it's the
Well-
one country in Western Europe that's not actually in trouble.
No, you're right. But France is different. France is like, you know that your life and your progeny is going to be cut short by cigarettes. So you must.
Cigarettes and
So
fat.
you must produce a third offspring.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because Patrick, if you don't, who is going to smoke in the Louvre then?
Oh, the non-French people, that'd be terrible.
That's disgusting.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sac de bleu. Yeah, no, man. I mean, there was something along those lines that I was seeing the other day. What was it? It was the opposite side. It was the Reddit theme or stream or thread bitchiness about like how fucking terrible America is now because I still have to spend a third of my income or more on an apartment. And I sat down there and I was like, I was doing the math on that, and I was like, wait a minute, I made 4.25 an hour, and I worked carry the one. Okay, so I got a $900 check every month, and I was paying 350 for my first apartment. It was like,
Right.
wait a minute, the math here, yeah. So, if we're talking proportions, it's still kind of the same.
No,
So,
I
yeah.
literally looked at this earlier on today.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because there was again, this was the same shit. Some asshole decided to throw up one of those that pass the things around where somebody finds like an old flyer from like the 1950s, right? And they show a
And
picture
we
of
all
a
laugh.
house.
Oh,
Well, no, and they
Yeah.
show a picture of a house and they say like, look what $7,550 could buy you in 1950,
Oh my
right?
God, yeah.
And they'll say what the wage was, and some, that they just, I can't remember who it was. They posted, they said like, well, this is the median income in the United States. This is the median cost of a house. The
Yeah.
proportion is exactly the same.
Yeah. Thank you. So
It's
math is
like,
hard.
well, and then you don't turn around and say like, all right, well, now on top of that,
Mhm.
okay, a car cost $2,000
A
back
lot
then,
more. A
right?
lot more.
Right? So you say like, all right, so what would be the equivalent of that? It's like, well, that means it's, I don't know, a third of the cost of your house.
Hmm. Yeah, they were a lot. So, well, and I mean, I remember even like my grandma talking about having a note on the TV. So, you go to Sears or what is it? Monkey Ward's.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and yeah, if you wanted that fucking radio box TV, I mean, that thing, I mean, you had to buy it on payments. You could not buy it. So, because it was like a third car.
Yeah.
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 So, and this wasn't about like, oh, getting my dollar to stretch. It was like, well, if you want this, then okay, this is the only way you're going to be able to afford it is on layaway. So,
And on top of that, when you bought one of those TVs, like shipping couldn't have been cheap because you needed like a whole like team of Egyptian slaves with like levers and pulleys and wheels
it's got
to get that
fucking
fucking thing
logs
in your
underneath
house. I know.
it. So,
Like it's shit where you can actually say like, no, they had to have dinosaurs pulling these. Like it's just it's not possible, right?
yeah. Flintstones actually isn't animated.
It's priced, man. Because yeah, and you just sit there and look at. We talked about this, like how much more shit you get for the
A lot.
price, you
A
know.
lot.
So yeah,
So,
I get it, and I get it. I'll never begrudge anybody that actually says like, man, shit is expensive. I'm like, I'm not gonna fight you on
no,
this. Like,
it is expensive.
um,
So you got a lot more things competing for your dollars these days too, but everybody thinks they're all essential. And so I mean, like think
mhm.
about it, like how many streaming services, cell phone service, and shit like that you and I weren't paying jack shit for 20 years ago. Now it's fucking crazy. So how much money you're applying is that every single month. So
Well, again, this is the same shit. Like there was this one. Again, I hate to bring this back to this because it was just like picking on an easy target, but there was this one lady who was like bitching. She's like, "Well, I went to Yale and I got my bachelor's and my master's and my doctorate, and I still live paycheck to paycheck." And so I told her, I was like,
move.
no, I wasn't even that. I said, "Well, then you have to decide. Like, you can't order everything off pay-per-view. You can get like the SummerSlam or the Royal Rumble, but not both."
You can't have both.
And-
You'd have to pick the right league here. What did she say?
She didn't say shit, but a lot of people said like that's about them. But a lot of people were like, "Yeah,
That's a tough call, man. Yeah. You gotta get the SummerSlam or the Royal Rumble.
but not both." Yeah, and that was the thing is it just more so than anything like a bunch of old wrestling fans started like chiming in, getting a whole lot of personal stories about like, "Oh, I used to get these." Yeah, it's like you can get all these on Peacock, and then the whole point was. But if you get Peacock, but you have to cancel Netflix. Are you willing to do that?
Right, yeah.
Right?
You better binge it all out this weekend before you pull the
Make a
pin on it.
decision. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. See, that's the thing is yes, you and I have to come to grips with the fact that I want you to go back on things that we had back in the day when there wasn't as much choice, right? I want you to go back to your like 5 1/4 like Star Wars figures, right? Yeah, we all had stuff like that. The sculpts were dog shit,
They were bad.
right? But they were all that you had, right?
And they were all you're gonna get. I mean,
Absolutely,
yeah.
right?
So like you would either you'd cut a lot of grass to go get whatever the toy set that you want.
Yes.
So, or something like that, but you couldn't do it all.
That's
So
exactly it.
either you were the guy with the GI Joes, you were the guy with all the fucking He-Man guys. So, or you were,
Or you were the Transformers
you're the
guy, or
Transformer
one
guy.
dude in the neighborhood was almost always the water guns guy. It's just
Somebody had all the
stuff like
water
that.
guns, yeah.
And
But then you shared this shit. So yeah.
Now,
So,
yes, of course, it means that like Luke and Han and Chewie, they all looked like they had like Down syndrome and shit. None of them actually looked good in terms of
no, they
like
look
skull.
terrible, man.
But if you actually look at what's available in terms of like toys and collectibles, dude, we're miles away from where
My
we
daughter
were.
has so many toys that she just doesn't even play with,
And they're gorgeous.
they're wonderful and they're cheap compared.
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean that shit used to. I remember like there were fad toys that would come out every now and then. Okay, and they'd really soak you on those. So I mean,
What did you get got on?
I got on Micro Machines. I had fucking all of them. So that one got me. So, but then there were like other folks that I know who absolutely had to get. Like I had one buddy. He was convinced that he was going to commit suicide if he didn't get the GI Joe aircraft carrier, the USS Flak.
Yeah.
So, and his dad made him like bust ass for it all summer. So, and finally, because it was like $80 or like $100. It was not cheap. It was like the
No.
yeah,
that was the
amazing
Cadillac
toy.
piece of the line. Yeah.
Well, there were a couple things that were like that too, man. So, but that was just a really classic example of that.
Well, same thing goes with the same like the ones that are hard to find now. If you find an intact Millennium Falcon from those old sets,
Oh yeah,
okay, they were like this big.
yeah, they were huge.
Same thing
It was
goes.
like a trash can lid. I
It was,
remember that.
it
Yeah.
was. And you know what? It doesn't even look good compared to what
No.
they do now.
No, my cousin had one. So
same
he
thing.
smashed the fuck out of it.
Same thing goes with the AT-AT. Those things, if you have one that's in
Yeah.
decent shape, people still want them.
I never knew anybody who had that. So I know Mike. He actually had that original GI Joe. The F-14. So
the Sky Striker.
The Sky Striker.
Yeah.
Yeah, that thing was really
Yeah.
nice. But then you look at it today, it's kind of like, it's got these like bright orange missiles that are just like, got all the burrs around the edges and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not what you get today. And even like Lego sets back then, they were kind of lame. So I mean, they were really
Space.
cool. The space Legos were, yeah. So you always had that kid on the block who always collected all the space Legos. So but they were expensive. And so, like, my daughter treats them like model kits. So, they're not cheap.
That makes sense. Yeah.
But she treats them like model kits. She builds them once, and then she puts them up on her shelf. I mean, when I had just like, okay, I've got a gas station. Cool. It was like, let's turn this into a spaceship next,
Right.
or whatever. So, so they got used, man. Got used. So,
No, you're right.
and now
It
there's
was-
so many things that are just kind of like model pieces, and then it seems like kids grow out of it faster than they used to. So maybe that's just me speaking because this is my daughter's first summer of like pure YouTube. So, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
She doesn't want to do anything. She's just she's on the YouTube,
Delightful.
delightful all day long. And it's like, okay, so she got all her grades up at the end, so you do you. So you did
okay.
what we
Well,
told
yeah.
you to do.
All right.
Oh, careful there. So, but
Yeah, that feels awesome.
yeah, get a little bit of a leak there. Huh? So, but
All right.
anyway, yeah, no, but anyway, and I remember being granted. So like, I spent 6th grade in elementary school, and she spent it in middle school, and so she's already over that bridge now.
Yeah.
And I think that
Yeah.
actually makes a big fucking difference.
I agree.
So yeah,
Well, it's not.
I assume it's for the better.
It's not the bridge that it used to be because that was more of an ironclad thing.
Yeah.
Back then, it was a literal transition where, it genuinely felt like one period of your life was closing and the other was ending, at least in terms of I know at least for a lot of us, this is the first time. I mean, your friends are getting split up by districts and they're getting like shuffled around. So there's this thing of possible like redefining of identity and things
Mm,
like that.
yeah.
And so this is the choice you can make where will I continue to wear poser pants to school every day, or will I,
Right, yeah.
where I will I actually wear some jeans, or
Yeah. Am I gonna be the fanny pack guy? So
am I?
am I?
Depends. Are fanny packs in when I get there?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
So
so I mean, it's a little bit. It's the same thing that I talked to you about before, where there are no like fashion. Uh, there are trends, but it's not regional. It's not nothing
oh
like
no, it's
that.
instantaneous. So it's whatever's hot on TikTok right now. So yeah.
And there's the same thing. There's not that same level of like. I don't see kids thrashing each other because they're like, look who's got kids. Like I don't see that anymore.
Yeah, I don't
There
know.
used to be that thing where it's like, where you buy your clothes at Walmart. It's like I don't know.
Yeah, you Kmart kid.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. There used
yeah.
to be that kind of stuff
Well, it
there,
was always
and
yeah. Your mom shops at Goodwill. You know. Yeah.
I don't really see that anymore. I don't really
I
hear
don't.
kids like bitching about like I don't have the newest clothes or whatever. I'm sure in some circles it is, but they're wealthy circles anyway.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's not exactly hard to even get like stuff that's at least at least close enough to the point in time where it'll pass. I mean, I'm sure if you're in some wealthier neighborhoods, yeah, brands probably still matter in some respects. But I think
Yeah.
most of the shit's online now, man. Anyway,
Yeah. Yeah.
so if the kids are gonna fight, they do it on Instagram now, man. So I don't know if they do it, necessarily. Like I was asked my daughter about this the other day. I was like, "Are there any fights at your school?" She's like, "No," and I was like, "Really?" Because that was like the one thing that really separated middle school or junior high from elementary school. Elementary school, you had the one kid who got in fights all the time.
Oh,
So,
I got in fights.
oh, I know. So, but they were always kind of like, after school, flagpole, you and me kind of thing. It wasn't really that, none of it was really that serious. And usually you just push each other around a little bit, and then all of a sudden, then it was in junior high where you see the girls start getting in all kinds of fights.
Oh, okay.
So,
Yeah.
it was completely different. So, you know.
No, it's weird because yeah, I never all those years, this was years ago too. Like there was nothing that I saw that was on the level of like, why does everybody have to have a starter jacket this year?
Oh yeah, yeah. I remember that.
Right? I mean, this is the kind of shit that
I
I'm
remember
talking
that.
about is like think about those companies back then. It's like just that feeling of holy shit, we're hot,
Oh yeah,
right?
well that was the whole Air Jordan thing, man. That thing blew up while we were in middle school.
Yeah,
So
that's
yeah,
true. That's true. Yeah, and Jordans at least. I mean, they're still hot now.
they're
Don't
still
get me
hot.
wrong.
Yeah,
They're like the definitive brand,
yeah.
but yeah, I mean that's the crazy thing about it. I don't see that same kind of
If, if
attention
if
to it.
it's
Yeah,
out there, it's beyond my ability to detect it. So we'll put it that way.
fair enough.
Yeah.
But I mean, you have a daughter, and I mean, she's never rushed you down and said, "I can I have like these clothes?" I don't think, right?
No,
Yeah,
not to my knowledge. She might have done it to my wife, but I don't think so.
I
So
feel like that would have crossed your path.
probably.
Yeah.
So
But yeah, it's a little bit weird. I don't have a problem with it. In fact, I think it's great. I take it the complete different way. So, I don't have any compunctions about this because, like, fuck it, you guys should all be in uniforms anyway. Here's the shoes that you can own. Here's the
we've discussed this many
yeah,
times. You're Stalinist, like
yeah.
fucking school system.
Yeah. It's like, all right, well, you can wear your hair however the fuck in the summer, but on the first day of school, you're gonna have it cut to one of these three different types of
You get to
hairstyles.
pick one of the Lego hairstyles.
Uh
Yeah.
huh.
So
One is bald. One is
you
number one
need to
above
go
bald.
Kearney.
Number one above
Yeah.
bald, and number two is parted gently on the left or right side.
High and tight all the way around, baby. Yeah.
see the appendix guide for applicable ethnic hairstyles. But trust me, they do still come in forms of bald, high and tight,
high and
or
tight, yeah. It's the number 1 or the number 2. You know?
right,
Yeah.
right. It's really about whether you want it rounded or squared on the back of your neck. That's
Right,
that's
yeah.
the whole question.
It's not a ducktail, I see. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would have some leniency when it comes to, like, go ahead and wear them untucked. It's fine. You can, even though they are button-up shirts, you can wear them untucked. I'm not going to fight you on it.
Okay, that's really generous of you.
It's what comes with it's the forgiveness I'm willing to offer because you're wearing a tie.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And ladies will have to wear the little ties as well.
The little ties. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Yeah. I don't think I could send my kid to a school like that.
You would love it.
I don't think
You would
I
love
don't
it.
think I would, because I guarantee you the faculty would expect a lot more engagement out of me.
No, far less.
I don't know about that, man. So
less.
my daughter's school is pretty like forward leaning on some of that stuff, you know. So it's like, oh, be sure to sign up for PTA because all the slots will be filled within 3 minutes of us making the announcement, you know, kind of thing.
Well, no, we don't want to reach you at all. That's the thing is we don't want to reach you. The only times that we're reaching you, there is some serious trouble going on.
Oh, it's when the police are already involved, huh?
That's kind of it.
Yeah,
So
okay.
you're going to have a brief period to contest the demerits that they're going to be getting,
Mm-hmm.
and your appeal will likely be balled up and put in the trash. I mean the sticker or the stamp is going to say objection noted. Right.
Rejected.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yes, you can come in there and you can have that discussion, and basically you need to be appraised on how many remaining demerits your child has. Or
Now, would you run a company this way?
me?
Yeah. So you
No.
run an insurance office.
Yes.
So yeah, you've got 50 call center representatives.
All right.
Yeah, are you gonna run it the same way?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Maybe. It depends. It really depends. It depends on the business. Really is going to make the push on how I just, because there are some businesses where I'm like, well, fuck it, I'm not gonna have like 6 roofing guys come in here and
Well, that's why I said insurance. It's the closest thing I could think of to school.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
You know, I would, but I would also preface this on my whole thing here would be the same thing I said about building a better Republican Party, right? Is our insurance company is not full of like children, right?
Right.
What
So
I'm
you
here is, yeah, like
gotta hire the right people.
exactly, because
Yeah.
we are going to run this like a professional environment. So you're not going to hear any fucking rap music in the background. You're not going to hear people hooting and hollering.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to talk to somebody that the whole business is that you buy into the professional atmosphere that you're calling to,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's the whole selling point of the business, that you feel confident that the person you're speaking with is that. Now, will it cost me more? Yes. Does that also mean that
Maybe.
well, for
Maybe.
me, yeah, because
Yeah.
I would expect to be hiring people who have been in the business for a while, right?
Possibly, it'd also be really good to hire some people fresh off the street in a situation like that, because then you don't have to untrain them of bad habits. So
There is that, yeah, no, and the training module would be, you know, building them into that thing. But that would be the model that I work on,
yeah.
right? And yeah, I can see that being a problem. I can see that being a unique benefit because, I mean, there's something where, look, if you remember just, you know, 10, 15 years ago, right? There was a lot of business calls and a lot of business that was lost after your second call. And some dude from Mumbai was answering your call and he didn't know what the fuck he was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And you just said, you know what? I don't care how cheap this
Yeah, I don't
vacuum
care.
is.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to do this business. So they brought it back to the States. Well, okay, if you brought it back to the States, well, I can do you one better, right? I want you to actually picture like the people that you're working there are in ties because they are,
Yeah.
right? So, and that's the same thing where it's like, well, I'm going to give you a bunch of autonomy over this here too. Like, if you're the professional, you're the professional, right?
Yeah. There might be room for that in the future.
There could be. I mean, if all things
Yeah.
are the same, right? If you're saying that all things are roughly the same, and they are in many ways, just small discounts here and there, and this. then whatever relationship that you have with those people, if they feel confident, they say like, you know what, man, it's the same. It is the exact same fucking thing that Bud Light is really hating life with right now because, as I told you, nobody changes beer on a whim, right?
No, not really.
And when they do and they switch, it's going to be a hard thing to get them back because once somebody makes that, that's the same
Yeah, I
thing.
saw that they're doing that whole thing with Harley Davidson. And it was like that is as desperate as you can get,
It
man.
is
So
extremely
you're like
desperate.
literally going back to a company that only appeals to guys in their 60s
Yup.
or
What that generation thought was tough.
well, yeah.
Right.
So, but now we know that they're all in walkers and stuff like that.
Right.
You know, so it's not quite the same. You know, or is so almost like such a niche product nowadays.
Uh-huh.
So that it just doesn't have the this represents America kind of stuff that it used to maybe like 20 years ago,
Yeah.
30 years
Yeah,
ago.
because this shit's expensive.
It's way expensive.
Yeah.
So and so it became a rich man's game. It's like golf, So, golf got professionalized, and so did motorcycles in that respect.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're now like, oh, you didn't spend $2,000 on a club? No. So I rent that one.
Well, it's you don't want to break it out. It's like, well, I have some good ones, but the other ones here, these are from Fisher Price.
Yeah, exactly. So this one blows bubbles.
You notice when I hit the ball every time it goes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, it's the thing. I remember the shit that I thought was funny was, you're aware of the Hell's Angels.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not really a motorcycle gang anymore, like you
Not
know them.
really. Not like well, a lot of those guys got broken up, man. I mean, I remember as a kid, there were biker gangs down in like the San Luis Valley that you didn't fuck with.
You told me that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they try and run you off the road and stuff like that. The cops were like, "Well, boys will be boys,
Right.
them Duke boys, So, but yeah, it's not the same, man. It was like all that motorcycle craze with the choppers and fucking
Yeah.
who was it, Jesse James and
Oh, the rest of those
all those idiots, yeah, who got that whole thing kind of turned in as like, oh, this is the cool thing to do now, and it was the cool thing if you were like 50 at that time.
Yeah.
So which means now you're pushing 65 or 70,
You're just not at your gangiest at that point.
Well, no, and you're definitely not drinking Bud Light. It makes you shit. So yeah, and so it just seemed like it was like, wow, that's just that's when the sharks got you and you're just stabbing it with that little knife, but it's just not gonna work, man. Yeah,
no, that's the end of the old man in the sea. Yeah,
right. Yeah.
It literally is the knife breaks. No, well, you're right because and that's the thing about the Hell's Angels. When I found out they're not a gang anymore, they're a brand.
Yeah, it's brand.
Yeah,
what they do all this charity shit and stuff now too.
Well, and what they do more than anything else is sue people for basically.
Nice.
Well, so they have their they've done this many times. This is they have their brand, they have their color, they have this kind of thing, and if you're intruding upon that, then yes, they take it to court.
Okay,
which is a far cry from we'll kill you.
Yeah. So we'll kill you and take your children. Yeah,
but you're right. When you're 57, it's more along the lines of, you've offended me.
Yeah.
I shall see you in court, sir.
Right.
Yes.
I know a guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. My cousin.
He's my cousin.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah.
That's that thing that they're appealing to. And again, that would have worked 35, 40 years ago.
Yeah, so obviously you've got some executives in there who are just like they're on emergency damage control at this point in time, and they don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Put Camel on the cans.
See, that's actually not a bad idea.
No, of all of them, that's their best.
If you run towards the ambush, you have less a chance of getting dead. So,
all right.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
Yeah, if you just stay put, you're gonna die.
Right.
So but there's a whole bunch of people there that are going to lose their jobs. So.
Oh, there's already some.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
What was the other one that was getting in trouble?
Target.
Do they steer clear of that iceberg or what?
They they
Do
tried
they
to
kind of round it a little bit?
they tried. Oh my god, man! They tried to backpedal and then forward pedal and then backpedal. They're in a rough spot.
Well, when it's coming right for you, yeah, you got to make a
It's
decision, man.
well,
Yeah,
you already made your call, man, and then yeah,
yeah.
it's amazing. Yeah, there's you know
See, the funny thing about that is that there's not an easy rebound brand. So around that, because Target is the anti-Walmart. So if you're not red team, you're blue team.
right.
And so blue teams already got most of the guys in the stadium. And so like, what's green team? I don't fucking know. So where do the red team guys go? Because obviously they're not going to blue team.
Right.
So because otherwise they wouldn't be there. They wouldn't be on red team in the beginning.
Yeah.
So now the question is, where do you go? Do you go to like, fucking Kmart's dead?
Right.
So Bed Bath and Beyond is dying and they don't have food. So,
Right.
I don't know what you do here, man. So yeah.
Well, the closest comparison is like your local dollar store.
Yeah, that's got a very different, much more methy connotation to it.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yes.
So yeah.
Look, man, when I was rig working, you could buy plenty of nice blankets there.
Yeah, sure. I've bought shit at the dollar store,
Yeah.
man. So yeah. I've thrown out a lot of shit from the dollar store over the
I
years.
have.
Too. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
one of my favorite discussions that I had with young lady from Venezuela that was one of my students. This was during the COVID situation, and we were talking about masks and stuff like that. And she was talking about the cost of these things, and she just mentioned that like she saw some of them on the floor at Five Below, which
What is Five Below?
it's
Like a dollar store?
It's at $5 and below.
I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, we don't have them around here.
Okay.
But,
All right.
it's East Coast, Florida, that kind of stuff. And she just she heard it as so arrogant when all I said was, "I don't buy my masks at Five Below."
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And-
Yeah.
Because I know the store. I've known like people that go there. To tell you the truth, I think it's actually a great name, for a dollar store essentially.
Yeah.
But I didn't even mean it like that. I was like, I just don't have one, and I wouldn't buy my masks there.
That was one of the problems with the dollar store. Brilliant branding when it actually worked. So, but
Right.
then it was later on where it was like, well, you could there's like a display that has things that are only $1. now.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
but everything else is basically like $5. Kind of thing. So yeah, calling it Five Below is pretty good, but you might be painting yourself in a corner there too. So you never know.
Well, I mean, shit. For the longest time, we had stores that were known as Five and Dimes.
It's been a long time, but yeah.
Not in my lifetime, but I mean, it's so much that it's an American institution.
Yeah,
that,
we used to have one downtown. So
Did
it was,
we?
yeah, it was just a classically named one, but
like Ben Franklin's or what?
something like that. Yeah.
Because that was a big one for long. It was Ben Franklin's Five and Dime, and
I don't remember. It was by the Kmart.
shit, really down
Yeah.
there?
No,
Or-
no. The one that's way down on Nevada.
Oh, that one. Yeah.
The one that had the food court in it.
The Kmart Cafe.
The Kmart Cafe,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So there was like one of those. I can't remember what it was called, but it was one of those semi-chain ones. So then we go there when we couldn't find shit at Kmart. So
Okay. Yeah.
yeah. Now I was like, this is Ronald Reagan days, man. So this is a long time ago.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Hey, well, those are the same things when I think about whenever I'm headed up, academy, and I'm driving past that place where I'm like, Best was there, service merchandise was there,
Oh,
and those
yeah.
were
I remember those.
the specialty department stores.
Yeah. I
Right.
remember they had a huge jewelry store in there. So it was like, holy shit, these people, this is the fancy place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had a catalog the size of a.
It used to be
fucking
called
pe-
LaBelle's before that.
See, yeah, I know what you're saying.
man.
Yeah.
We used to get the catalog every year.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
thing was as big as a PC Gamer in its prime.
Oh, it was like five of
that
those stapled
catalog,
together, man.
yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't the Bible, that was the Wish book. So
Oh, the Sears. Oh.
was that Sears or Pennies? I think that was Sears.
Oh,
It was
the
book.
Wish book. Yeah, okay, that's Pennies. Yeah,
Was it Pennies?
I think so
Okay.
because I think they were just going with the classic, the Sears Roebuck, I think they just called it the Sears catalog back
I
then
think you're right. Yeah,
because that was their brand. That was still
we used to get those every year, man. So
a big deal.
it was a big deal. So
I mean, not as big as like the 40s, where that was.
right, I can order a house through it. Yeah, right.
Dude, man, I gotta tell you, I used to love going through like those and like the Sunday circulars and
I remember those. Yeah.
just looking through to see like shit, look what's at Best Buy this week.
Hmm.
It's like, do I have this? Do you think this will be on sale again
Hmm.
next week or?
Oh yeah, I used to tear that thing up.
Yeah,
So every time,
yeah.
see what was new, what games had come out.
Mm-hmm.
So yep, you have a sale on CDs or whatever. So these are Bill Clinton years though, man. That's a little different. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Reagan years a little bit different.
Reagan years were definitely a little bit different. So speaking of feeling old,
This is what I'm talking about.
yeah, I know, man.
So
We
like
just totally did it to ourselves.
when the dude
too.
fucking goes out there and says the first Ninjago came out in 1983,
yeah,
I'm like,
exactly.
no, it didn't. Like, it can't be, because that would make.
Oh, yeah. And you're like, wait a minute, I know what you're doing. You know?
You know, it's funny too because we also I remember speaking of like the Clinton years and all this other stuff, right? I remember so I used to constantly like every week I would always watch Siskel and Ebert and then Ebert and Roper and at the movies
I remember Ebert and Roper.
and I remember I remember those guys they were having certain complaints that I found myself having, right? Because they were talking about movies when they were reviewing basically like oh Patrick, what was that version of the the Bruce Willis movie where he's playing both sides of the mob and
Oh, I love that movie.
what is that?
It's Fistful of Dollars, but with Bruce Willis.
That was the thing, yeah, and
What
it's
the fuck is that movie called? I know which one you're talking
yeah,
about.
I didn't, you know, mind it or anything. But I remember at the time the criticism was exactly that. It's like, well, guys, it's just fistful of dollars,
That's
and then
exactly what it is. Yeah.
and then the thing was that was also around the time where they were like, well,
It's got Christopher Walken in it.
it does,
He's
doesn't
got
it?
the stupidest thing where he, like, you know, he turns around at the last minute and shoots you. You know?
Is it Last Man Standing? Was
Last
that-
Man Standing.
Okay,
Thank you.
yeah. Okay.
Well, it was like that era, and then the other one that was right on its heels was the one with Lawrence Fishburne, Hoodlum. So
Oh,
there was a
yeah,
resurgence
yeah,
of like
yeah.
you know classic gangster movies right at that time. So
Yeah.
anyway,
But the other thing they were complaining about, and you know, rightly so, that's when they were like, all right, so the movies that were coming out, they're like, we've seen all these because they're like, this is the Coneheads, this is
oh yeah,
this is the remake of Lost in Space, this is McHale's Navy, this is
all right.
and they're just going through this whole long list, and they were talking about how basically all of their childhood properties, Maverick, all of their childhood TV shows and movies were being remade into new.
Maverick, that's a good one.
You know, it's a fine movie. It's actually it's not
Yeah.
bad. There's nothing wrong
No,
with
it's
it.
fine.
But you know, they were making that complaint of our IPs being stripped back for nostalgia bait, right? Now it's funny because I think we're at the tail end of our shit getting stripped clean.
I think the carcass is just about pecked dead.
I think so. I
So,
think with the
yeah.
death of Indiana Jones, I think that will be the death knell to say, stop. These. There's no marrow left in these bones.
No,
Right? You're just
I
coughing
have
up
not
pellets.
seen a single person say something nice about that film. So
Well, it's not out yet.
well, okay, so
But
but they lifted
critics and
the
everything,
embargo,
yeah,
and
yeah.
so the critics are out there fucking tearing it to pieces. So right now, yeah.
Yeah.
So like even like so the
Well, Little Black Mermaid just got
oh
fucking
it got
dunked.
roasted,
Yeah.
yeah, roasted alive. So, and then but it was like okay, who was the idiot who decided to release the embargo on that? Okay, did they actually think that this movie was good and that critics would actually, you know, say like, oh, okay, actually, you know, it's redemption and it'll be back and blah blah blah. You
Yeah.
know, when obviously you had this turd that you kept trying to polish. I mean,
Yeah.
every leak in
Yeah.
Hollywood was basically pointing to how bad it was.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
then you know the first thing I see like the Guardian say, all the rumors are true. It's like, oh, you guys are saying this. Oh, this is gonna be bad.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, and so yeah, that's the last one. In fact, Drinker made that thing the other day where he was talking about. He's like, this is it for LucasArts. He said they're done. They've killed every franchise that they've had. So you know, and he's like, if Kathleen Kennedy doesn't get fired, okay, fine. They're just gonna mint toys for the next 20 years, but we're not gonna see another good movie out of them. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was. He was pretty ruthless with it, but it makes sense. So
No, he's right.
yeah, no, I
Well,
believe it. Yeah, no, I agree.
because yeah, when it comes down to it, like the rest of the they've dude, it's something where you and I know this when it comes to like brands and stuff, like what can take 20 years to build up is something that you can wreck in an afternoon,
Yeah.
you know? And I mean, when you're talking about like if you're we this is only tangentially Star Wars related. It is only because it's in bed with the bigger picture that we're talking about, right? Is look, when those movies came out and they were done, right? They were done. There was this time when you'd buy Star Wars stuff, and you know, this is oddly enough, it was people joke about it where they say that like having a licensed tie-in was a sign of bad quality, and that just was not true for a long
Were you
time.
talking about the original trilogy?
Well, this is what I'm saying
Yeah, okay.
is like especially like in the 90s, the 2000s, like if you bought a game that was based off of I don't know the Fifth Element or whatever, you thought it would suck because it was going to be just like this crappy like cash in
Yeah,
on
it
the
was
IP.
it was a Laura Croft ripoff. Yeah.
But the fact is, like for the longest time, things like Star Wars actually were the things that were going to be quality. You bought them
Yeah,
because
because it came out of LucasArts, so they were the best game studio for years.
for what they
So
did, I mean, they didn't do every kind of thing, but
no,
the
what
things that they
they
did
did
was
great.
right.
So
And
yeah,
they let those guys have creative freedom. They checked it over. They checked to see if it was like in lore. So much to the point where, like with Star Wars, there's a lot of shit. They took the entire extended universe, which had stupid shit in it,
Mhm.
right? But for a long time, that kept it rolling for like 20 years, right? Of
Oh, a good 15. Yeah. I don't know, man. I think yeah, so like the prequel trilogy was so divisive at that time. I mean, this is like yeah,
yeah,
territory. We don't
we
we've been
view it
over
with
this one.
reverence
Yeah,
now, but
I
yeah,
know, but
it's
you know,
fucking genius at this point. Yeah,
yeah, but you know, it's just it is one of those things where it's just you know like I don't know, man. It gets back to my like anti-conspiracy theory stance on most things because you know, fucking never explain to you know malice what can be explained more easily with
stupidity.
incompetence and
Yeah,
stupidity.
yeah.
And so you know this is just an absolute example of that where someone was handed a lot of opportunity. So or not, it's not just Kathleen Kennedy either. There's a bunch of people you know who were
No,
definitely
uh there is a protective layer of suck ups that is
exactly
yes
yeah okay yeah
that are catching
sycophants
bricks
yeah
on her behalf. Yes.
right you know and it's just it's like all right so collectively you are all stupid got it okay that this makes sense now you know so you know you thought that you had you know some kind of license to sit here and say like well this is what Star Wars is now and have people just take it like bad medicine so you
Right.
know and
Right.
people like well okay so I'll take a little bit of tussin because yeah I got a little cough and I miss it you know but after like three spoonfuls you're like this is actually really bad for me.
I'm not getting
I'm
better.
not getting any better. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So,
You don't understand. I've
you
been
don't
to work
understand.
drunk 3 times this
Right,
week.
yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
I feel a little stoned. You
And I
know?
operate a lathe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, exactly. I drive a forklift.
I could you had them all, dude. I was like, wow.
Yeah, I had the set, man. So there's a set that I collected.
No,
So, but
that's
anyway.
yeah, that's the rough part is I mean, you and I have joked about this too, and we've said this before, like the internet is not real. I mean, it's a real place, but it is not a place for the average person. Now, that is not my way to say like, if you were to pluck me out of nowhere for whatever reason, some dickhead over at Disney is like, I'm going to listen to these no subscriber podcasts to find the answer on how to fix Star
Oh,
Wars.
right, yeah.
And they just grab you and I and say, like, you two simple men from Colorado. And you say, like, excuse me, sir, this is the most educated and healthiest state in the union. They'd say, okay, you two hayseeds from Colorado
You two
come with us,
hayseeds, yeah,
right?
come with us.
Because you do not live near water.
Yeah, fucking country mice.
Yeah. So they pluck us out. Here's the thing: is like, you can't also look at this and say, like, well, the solution to this is to pull some nobody out of middle America and say, well, sir, what do you want from your Star Wars
Don't
movies?
ask the fucking audience.
No,
man.
of course not. But you
Dude,
don't.
the older I get, the more I realize you're right about that, man.
But don't also look around and say, don't grab a whole room full of people, from fucking California or New York and say, like, tell the people what they want.
Yeah.
Right? Like, no, man, like all things, this is why all good creative endeavors, on rare occasions, like, here's the thing. Zardos has like 5 names working on it, and
God.
like 20 of them are one guy, right? The shit turns out weird. Okay.
Dude, that's one of those movies where if you mention it to people, they're either like, what? Or they're like, what? Right, yeah. Exactly.
The acronym, if you know, you know, right?
Right, yeah, exactly.
But I can look at it and say, this is one man's creative vision. I'll never watch this again.
No, it's horrifying. So,
but at the same time, like, you cannot take this insulated group of Californians and say, like, well, via us, we know exactly what people want. It's like, clearly you don't.
Clearly not, yeah.
Clearly you don't. So maybe actually fire half the guys from here, right? And also get some Tennessee hayseeds in this place, right? And you bounce ideas off each other and say, whoa, you're going too far. And then you sit in the same room and you guys joke at each other. And they say, like, well, okay, redneck, what are your ideas? Like, well, I don't know. I can't tell who the bad guys are.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And then you have...
That movie's dark.
Yeah.
I can't see nothing.
Yeah, and then you have the other side. It's like, well, that's the point. It's like, well, we're marketing this. The ages are really going to be from about 5 to 15.
I don't know,
to
man.
Adults.
I think it's only a matter of time. In fact, it's happening right now, where we're starting to see AI generated shit that's going to just blow the other stuff out of the water. So
this writer strike is not going to go the way they want.
This is terrible. This is like striking on the Titanic, man. Yeah. It's like, well, we're really concerned about the dining room, so you work us too many hours. It's like, yeah, okay, just stick around for a little bit. We'll be all right. So, so I'm already seeing it on YouTube, man. So there's this guy that I watch. He's a YouTube guru dude. And I catch in with him every now and then because he does give really good tips on certain things that you don't think about. But, his whole thing now is all about using AI to drive the algorithm. So, and writing scripts and doing your thumbnail before you even fucking like put anything to paper in terms of a script. So, and it's just like, wow, that is so completely backwards than what you think it would be. So, but it's going to fucking work. So, I see guys doing it on TikTok already, so which bleeds over into YouTube Shorts because now you post on 4 different fucking platforms every single time you post something.
Right.
Yeah, I know,
right.
man.
Right.
So, but it's just like, okay, all right, so this one's cooked, so,
No, it's just funny, man. I get to watch. It's funny that you have you're way more up to date on what's happening at YouTube than I'll ever be. You're so knee deep in the intricacies of it.
Well, I mean, and some of that's like my daughter shares my account, and so there's a lot of shit on there that's just rando. So that's in her interest circle and stuff like that. So it's like, why is this so cool? Why can't I not stop watching this guy?
It's an interesting question.
Yeah, exactly. It was like I would never click on this video before, but since she got me to watch one, now it's kind of like, this is fucking sweet. So
See, I don't even know how people could be expected to follow and be aware of all this. Like, I feel like if you and I were going to do some kind of like fair hour and 30-minute show about the industry, right? It couldn't just be you and I, because we'd have to have somebody. Neither you or I touch Instagram.
No.
Right?
I'm not on Facebook.
We don't use Facebook. We need to hire a Twitch specialist. We need to.
Oh, Twitch is cooked, man. So
I've heard they're in big trouble.
they
but
are bad, man. It is just one thing on there. So now it's like you talk about like the land of haves and have-nots. Okay,
Yeah.
it is 99
Yeah.
million have-nots and 3 guys who have,
Yeah.
or more specifically, 2 guys who. They're the guys who get to stream whatever the fuck they want to stream, because they have, 8 million followers.
And the
or
rules
whatever.
don't apply
And the
to
rules
them.
don't apply to
Yeah.
them. And then there's this one person who sits in hot tubs all day long still. So, and it's just like, okay, this is a wasteland. So I stopped watching it about a year ago. And then just like the last few weeks, I was like, what's going on Twitch? So, and it's like, it's exactly the same. So,
Well, it's that's what's funny about it. Yeah, I do occasionally like hop on that. Well, I don't anymore. I used to do that like when kids were testing and stuff like that. But yeah, it's exactly the same. I found the last thing that I was interested in was, well, this chick works in a pizza place.
oh yeah, I seen those. So
I was like,
yeah.
well, this is actually somewhat interesting,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It shouldn't be. It's just
No.
interesting compared to Twitch, right?
There was a Subway stream that I was hooked on for a while. This guy working at Subway with
There
a
you go.
headlight
Yeah,
cam.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's just like, oh, okay. And I was like, but then I started thinking about it. It's like, actually, that's kind of fucking creepy, man. It's like you're looking right at this lady's face and she doesn't realize she's on fucking Twitch.
Well, at least the
Yeah.
pizza one was just the back of the house.
See, I seen a
that-
McDonald's one like that. So,
Oh, okay,
yeah. But
okay.
this was like right in dealing with customers like real life, and people in the chat are just being assholes.
Really?
Well, dude, that's kind of how Twitch chat is. So, I mean, it kind of goes a couple different ways. But you just watch the Nightbot furiously murdering off all kinds of stuff in there.
Well,
this is probably
listen,
not a good chat.
I don't know what
stream,
to yeah. So I mean, like their version of asshole is the kind of thing that I didn't get banned for, and vice versa. So
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean,
okay. Yeah.
I got nuked for transphobia, but that is what it is.
Yeah, it's kind of hard not to do that now. So,
But the more to the point, yeah, is like so when I so if you want, like you and I have joked about like the intention of a thing. So if I said like you take something like Twitch and you say like, all right, so this is a video game streaming platform. This is what we want to do, right? Like even before there was really any money in it or anything like that.
Right.
It was just we're here to showcase games. And it's so weird that this is not an old medium, but it's like if you took like the Tolkien books and you say like, all right, well I'm going to adapt this, and then you just let the market handle it, and you say it's like, well, so what happened? It's like, well, so this one dude over there, like, he says by the time they got to like the first party in Fellowship, there's no tits in this, and then
I'm out of here.
right,
Yeah.
so oh, okay, we can handle that, okay, no problem. And then suddenly like the tits are everything, so they're like, well, okay, I gotcha. Like, but you got to follow the rules. It's like, well, if you get rid of those, then we leave. Well, we can't have you leave. So what do you do? It's like, well, we don't like these hobbits. Get them out of here, right? And that's the thing is
Yeah.
you take the original vision of
Yeah.
this thing and you look at the what it's like splintered into, because they're like, well, we have to prioritize this because it is actually generating money, right?
Yeah, well, and some of that was when Amazon was on its buying spree. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You talk about two things that are not compatible with each other.
No, but Amazon was like trying to turn itself into GE. We're going to do a little
Yeah.
bit of everything.
Yeah.
So now they're kind of getting back to it. Like, well, actually, do we really need the Washington Post now that Jeff Bezos is spending all his time on the yacht with his Mexican girlfriend? Probably not.
Is that what he's doing? Okay.
Yeah, that's what he's doing.
All right.
So.
That's
Yeah.
fine. You get to do that.
Yeah, you
at
get
that
to
age.
do that when you're the 58-year-old man who has $100 billion.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so
This is already after your last wife carved you up for.
well, remember he cheated on her, man. That was kind of rough. He got outed by his current girlfriend's brother.
Really?
Yeah, that's how that went. Yeah.
Why would he drop the dime?
I don't know.
What an asshole.
Well,
That's
he
like, yeah.
must have been having beef with his sister. You never know, man.
You don't give a fuck. It's like, all right, well then.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it was that, and it was the Saudis outed him because they hacked his phone. There was some conspiracy theory behind it because of the whole Khashoggi thing. The guy who got chopped up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so that was Washington Post guy. And then it was like initially leaked, and then it was corroborated by her brother. And then it was like, oh, you've been fucking cheating on me. Okay, well, guess what? We've been married for 26 years, and no prenup is going to last through that. So,
Right.
yep.
There you go.
He's fine.
No, he's fine.
He's got
Yeah,
plenty of
he's
money.
just not.
I mean, he's still a little smooth brain, man. So he's one of the harmless ones, though, man. So Zuckerberg's still dangerous.
He is.
Yeah, he's still dangerous.
Yeah.
So is Elon
Yeah.
Musk, man. So
Well, I'm familiar with his antics on a daily basis. There was yet another house cleaning.
yeah, well, I mean, he could cut that thing down to it's just being run by AI. So
Oh no, it was amazing. The source of it was just absolutely thrilling to watch in real time.
see, that's kind of fun. Yeah, that would be kind of fun. So. Because it's kind of like watching car crash on YouTube. I did go watch whales get exploded, by the way. So
It's disgustingly awesome.
it's
It is
disgustingly satisfying. Yes.
right.
Yeah. So
It's so gross, but I mean,
no, I was mad at Elon Musk the other day though.
wow, what do
So
you do?
his whole thing with China. So I'm not happy with that. You know, go over there and make nice. So
Yeah, I don't know what the angle is on that. I don't
he,
I don't see how he makes money in that.
I don't know if he does. So which is kind of like, well, then why? You know. So yeah, there's something about it that's just weird. So anyway.
Yeah, that's a tough one for me.
I don't get that
I
one.
don't. Yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah. There were a couple members of his safety quote unquote team and censorship team, and
He
they.
still has a censorship team?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Oh, okay.
and they absolutely went off the reservation and decided they were going to take things into their own hands.
You don't do that when he's your boss.
Nope.
No.
And the three people were ex-Twitter employees by the end of the night. It's like,
Oh, it took that long? Yeah.
oh yeah,
Dude,
yeah.
you fires
It
people
was,
via Twitter.
it
So,
was,
yeah.
it was amazing. I was like, dude, fuck this, because the dude, like, I have to give him credit. Like, I've been here for this whole fucking mess, and I've
Hmm.
looked at things like from the start where it's like, well, this seems like what you're gonna do. This didn't pan out. This, these were problems. This is this issue. But the thing is, the guy has made a commitment. He's like, I believe this should be as free a space as
Yeah.
possible. Um, the only times where I have to stop is where it intersects with the law, and
Yeah.
so that's not up to me. It's like
No. No.
he's like, because he's like, so my question to do with Germany is like, should I let them have some Twitter or no Twitter? And so if they want to do that there, that's up to them because those are their laws. But here, on the other
Mhm.
hand, um,
Yeah, that's one of the hard parts about running a multinational corporation like that. So you got to kind of decide. It's like, what markets are we going to actually be in, and which ones are we going to say, well, all right,
look,
not my problem.
look, it's the same fucking joke. Like, and they do this every year. Is that they, when it comes to June 1st, are you guys going to put all that rainbow crap in your, Middle East logos? No, you never do. All right.
Middle East logos. What are you talking about?
Oh, so like BMW, every company in Pride Month, right? They'll take their
Oh, I
corporate
gotcha.
logo and they'll barf rainbow stuff on it.
Yeah, but they're
all
not going
over
to do
here.
that in their Saudi market.
They most certainly
Yeah,
do
no,
not.
of course not, because corporations are easy to figure out, man. You always know where their North Star is, so it's so fucking easy. So that's why I like them.
Well,
That's why I like them.
you see things in a different way than I do, right?
Yeah,
And you always have in a more pragmatic, you just look at it and say like, well, Jeffrey, they're going to make the decision that makes them the most money. You know that, right?
Yeah.
So if they're chasing this, it's because some dude has come with a pile of research and says, chase these things,
Uh-huh.
right? Now, on the other hand, I think that there are plenty of companies that have in recent years totally missed the mark on what they thought,
Oh yeah, sure.
right?
Market research is a bitch. So, and if you've got bad researchers, okay, fine, you're going to make bad decisions. So, I get it.
Because I mean, the Bud Light example is the
It's
best one I
classic.
can give you.
Oh man,
Right?
we're gonna have Harvard Business Review
Yeah.
case study on it someday. It's gonna be great. So, Well, maybe not an HBR case study. It might come from Prager.
And unfortunately, with that, there's a lot of people who rightly so are going to be like, I don't need to listen to this.
Well, that's true. You don't need to listen to that. I've been ambushed by their podcast a few times.
I don't think it's bad per se, but it's like, man, I know where you're. It's like your conclusions are already drawn,
right?
By merit of where this is coming from.
Yeah, I can autofill all of your opinions. Yeah,
because that's the thing is when you do that, there has to be some episodes where you say, "Shit, we didn't know."
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah,
man, were we wrong on this?
Yeah. So.
Otherwise, yeah, you're Prager U, and that's
yeah, Liberty U.
See, this is funny. Like, do people outside of the internet, like, does some dude in Tennessee know what Prager U is? Is that esoteric enough for the internet where he's like, I don't know what this shit is. What are you guys talking about?
Well, Google it, asshole.
No, I'm not picking on him.
Okay, all right.
I'm saying, like, is this part of the
outside of the internet?
People talk about like how this is like some institution on the internet, like
no,
you know,
it's a specialty. So I watched. Okay, I know a little bit more about it because I know a little bit more about for-profit colleges than the average bear.
Oh, okay,
so
yeah.
They've been around a while. Okay, they've never been bashful about their mission. So there's been a couple schools. They're the one. Liberty's the other one that actually managed to build a humongous campus that's all based on Jerry Falwell's fortune. So and it keeps trying to establish itself as like this reputable place of intellectual research, but then they repeatedly censor things that their professors try and do research on or fire them. And so it's kind of like, well, that's not kind of how this works, guys. So, nobody takes you seriously if you fire the staff if they talk back to you. So,
you have to mean it.
You really have to mean it. Yeah, you have to have like evidence of touching or something.
Well, I mean, you got to have like a fucking like Full Metal Jacket scene, where you're getting those people in line. Somebody does their John Wayne impression, and you have to fucking punch him in the stomach or whatever. Yeah, that's different. You have to.
Talk about Harley Irby in a while, man.
No, man, because with your employees, sometimes if somebody does shit like that, you have to get them out.
Well, fuck yeah.
And you have to fucking like behead them in front of the staff.
All firings are public executions. Yeah. So that is one thing that Elon Musk does do well. So and I mean. So I love democracy. I think it's a great way to actually run a country. It's a shit way to run a company. So
yeah.
No, if you run a company, it is Leninist. Okay, so you have the boss. The boss has his buddies. Okay, so you have HR, also known as the KGB, over here. So they have a very special function to make sure that everybody's politically aligned with Lenin. So yeah, that's how companies work, man. And if it's time to line people up against the wall, you do it in front of God and everybody. Because it's just a job, man. It's just a job, So you're gonna go find another one. So don't worry about it. Don't work here. That's the other thing. I mean, this is the other thing that is just. Like, I do see all these articles that come from, so I read a lot of business lit. It's kind of part of my job. So, but anyway, I read a lot of this shit, and there's all these, like, oh my God, cry for the employees at Twitter and Tesla. And I will never actually take that stance. It's his fucking company. He can run it the way that he wants, all right? If you don't like it, you don't have to fucking work here. Yeah. That's always been my stance.
You have never, ever wavered in it. Even to the point where I'm like, these fascist beliefs of yours are starting to make it hard for me to hang out with you.
So, yeah, but there you go, man. I mean, it is one of those things where it's like you run the company the way that you want to run a company because we're not shooting people. Okay?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, if you lose your job, all right, I've lost plenty of jobs, and it's just like, okay, well, shit happens. Go get a new one. So, oh, but there's my life. No, it wasn't. It was where you spent 8 hours a day. So 16 more. Okay, so go find something else to do. You'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they just take it as a really big deal. Mm-hmm.
Oh no! And of course, these are always the people that proclaim to you that the entire place is going to fall apart without them.
That's never true, and that's even true of Elon Musk. Okay, if he dies in a plate full of cocaine tomorrow, okay, Twitter will still be a thing the day after that.
Yeah, he's actually already put new people in place too. But
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
it would have anyway.
Yeah. No, the same thing's true with Tesla. I mean, he doesn't flat out own Tesla like he does with, well, he owns Twitter. If I understand it correctly, it's not his. Okay, but he's the majority guy, and there's a couple other guys who, are
Who
basically
got in on it?
who,
Yes.
yes,
Yeah.
who are not non-practicing partners, so to
Right.
speak. Yeah. So, but I don't know. So it's gone private, so that's all gone dark. We don't really know what's going on behind the scenes. So as far as the ownership structure goes anymore. Okay, fine. He fucking owns it. All right, it's his. So if you want to run it like a Stalinist dictatorship, that's your prerogative. And if you are someone who has been around for since the beginning in the Jack Dorsey days and stuff like that, your opinion means shit. Okay, so it's not yours. All right, you just work here. So I mean, I hate that attitude. I see so many people who do that, and they get in there as like, especially like ex-military guys. It's like really take like, oh, an offense towards like any kind of thing that you say against the Air Force is an offense against fucking all of us in America and blah blah. It's like it's not yours, bro. Okay, it's my Air Force too. You just work there. People don't see it that way, but that's how it works, man. So it's the same thing. I mean, you've had so many teacher friends over. This is my room. It's like, no, it's not. You just teach here, man. So those kids don't belong to you. So
No.
yeah, no, you got
No.
to give them back at the end of the year.
I was very clear about that myself. I was like, yeah, it's like you're good kids.
Yeah.
But that changes nothing.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Nobody, unless you actually run, Mr. Jeffrey's gulag, where it's like, well, actually, yes, we're going to need signatures from your parents permitting us to waterboard your children in the. It's like we gotta find these books. It's like
You got a library book. It's over there. Oh, what is that now? It's like, oh yeah, get the bleach.
yeah, unlawful like search and seizure. It's like, well, it's my lockers. I'm gonna open these up here. I think you have a stapler. I have reason to think that you have
Yeah.
a stapler that you didn't pay for. We're gonna open this thing up.
Yep.
And if we find it in here, that's 10 demerits and 10 more for lying. So you'd better clean up your act and actually get some positive marks. Otherwise, yes, your parents are going to fit this bill. Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's not how it works. It's
No.
like, all right, you're not mine. I'm going to return you at the end of the year, right? And maybe I'll see you again. Maybe I won't. I don't really care. Right?
Right, yeah.
It'd be cool, but that's not something I would like.
Yeah, but that's the point behind our relationship is not for it to be cool. So
Oh.
no. So you're not my friend, okay? So you're not my family. So but at the same point in time, it's like okay. So I've had students like all the time. I think we were talking about this before. It's like oh, they get to ride. They get to, ride the Pat ride in the park once, okay, in the entire thing. And then, it's like, okay, no, actually it's great. Keep in touch if you want, things like that. But no, man. I mean, this is all I got for you, okay?
Right.
So, and it's not personal. It's just, that's the way it is.
No, this is
Yeah.
This is why we have a membership card. It's
Exactly.
a rental, not a purchase.
It's a rental, not a purchase. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's just you're getting your shit back. That's how it goes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's and that's I mean it's the same thing. Like when you're talking about jobs, it's like this is the thing is like you and I came to that conclusion
a long time
way
ago.
before a lot of people that like there are people that grouse about it now. I don't know how it was, but you and I like crossed that corner at like 25.
I know.
And we're like
yeah.
somehow it came to us, we're like, yo man, I never thought about it this way. It's like what? It's like, jobs are like Twinkies. You can eat them, but they're not finite.
Right.
They're making more right now.
Yeah. There's lots of them out there. Yeah. So it's crazy, man. And I mean, I've tried to get jobs in much, much worse markets than this one,
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
This one's bananas. So right now. And like, I see all these things with people complaining about my wage and stuff. It's like, fucking move. Go get a better job. So I'm sorry to be that, pull up your pants guy. So, but it's really not that hard right now. I mean, I remember knife fighting people for jobs, basically.
Oh,
Yeah, it was bad. So, especially when you and I were both, unemployed. We picked like the worst time to actually go unemployed. So, yeah.
Well, and with that, to our credit, I will say that we did end up taking positions in the place that was sort of evergreen for jobs was education.
Yeah,
So,
that's true.
um, but yeah, that's dude. I don't know what to tell you. Like, do you know what my official job title was? Just editor,
So, that's great.
right?
You
And
put that on a fucking business card.
well,
Yeah.
I can.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I don't have to leave. I don't have to
Right.
like. Here's the thing: is maybe in a couple hours, if I'm in the mode for it,
Yeah.
I'm gonna start work,
Yeah.
right? And I will do so before people get in the office,
Yeah.
and that's up to me,
Yeah. It's all
right?
glorious, man. See? It's just,
And
and I mean, you stitched together what, over like a year and a half? Over the last year?
well,
So, yeah.
this was just something that I saw it popped up. I remember I just I told Indeed, I was like, hey, if you see something like this, send me an email, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
so, every now and then, like, Indeed just sees like certain keywords, and it's like, uh, so there's a job for like sanitation editor, and you're
Sanitation
I'm like,
header.
like, what do you mean? Like, does this involve books? Where it's like, nah, give me
It's
the
all
throw
mopped
trash.
up, man.
And it's just like, well, then this isn't what I want. So
Right, yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, a long time ago, Indeed had me like take some like skill tests, and
Mhm.
so I hit the button,
I
like,
do those.
yeah, my resume was out there and everything like that. They called me back, and they're like, "Do you want to do this?" I'm like, so explain. You don't need me in like Tucson. I was like,
Right,
no.
yeah.
Um,
Oh no, man. And I mean, so I saw a really interesting poll the other day. So now your answer completely depended on age on this one. It was hilarious.
oh
Okay.
yeah, okay.
So the poll was, all right, would you rather work at home for 45 hours a week? So, or in the office 35 hours a week?
I would guess if you asked me personally, I'd work at home for 45 hours a week,
Yep.
because that would keep me from talking to my employers, my coworkers for 35 hours a week.
Correct. Okay. And so you got the relationship exactly correct. So people were
So guns goes
55.
this way, butter.
But guns goes this way, butter goes this way. Yeah. Yeah.
Because they want to actually be in the office.
Yeah, there
right?
was this Mason Dixon line crossing at like, 35. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah. And I mean that it explained a lot because I mean, I remember I think it was like 2 years ago or maybe a year ago. I think we were doing a podcast when I asked this, so maybe just a year or so. But it was one of those things where it's like, all right, so the future is we're all going to work at home and stuff. How many of you guys want to do that? And nobody in my class wanted to
Yeah, that's
fucking
what
do
you
that.
said. Yeah.
It blew my mind because I was like, this is the greatest fucking thing ever, you know? So,
Yeah, but that's the thing. We talked about this too, is because of where we come from, right?
right.
So this is the thing. It's sort of like the New York cowboy, right? If you grew up in Manhattan, right, and you decided, all right, I've had enough of this, right? I'm still a city guy, but I'm going to live like in Colorado. I'm going to go camping every weekend, right? Right? You flip that around here because that's where you come from. So you and I came from this thing where we have weird things. I know for me, like I have certain like totally misplaced senses of like ownership, because like the first thing is like, and I know for all my authoritarian streaks with school, the the office is a different story. So as soon as they say, well, we dress around here, and so the first thing, because of my personality, is like, oh, we do.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
See, that's why I was probing you on that a little
It's
earlier,
like,
but I got you. Yeah.
so do you need me to change my name? Do I have to wear your shackles? Do I have to like so of course I go
where do I
into
sign up for the lashings?
yeah, so with that, and you and I have done plenty of jobs where it's like where we have to dress, where we have to
I've had several jobs where I had to wear a tie. So
Yes.
not non-negotiable. Yeah.
except on Fridays.
No, actually,
Sometimes.
yeah, I've had uniforms that had ties. So have you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and that's the thing. And I was wearing this uniform. Was I sitting there like, I'm making $120,000 a year? It's like, no, I'm making $212 an hour plus tips,
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
and I have to wear this tie. And
Yeah.
Bob stole my clip on.
Yeah, they won't let me use the parking pass.
Are you fucking kidding me? Yeah. So
Yeah,
that's you and I have gone through these things where it's like, oh, we've been there. We've socialized. We've caused trouble. We've,
I've done all the trouble. I've done all the socialization. So I keep in with almost zero work friends. So from past,
yes,
yeah. So
yes.
I mean, there are some exceptions, and it's when you work at enough places and you do it long enough. Okay, that happens. You're gonna have a few people that you remember fondly, and if they keep in touch, great. So
And if they don't, that means they're doing their own
that's
thing.
fine too.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but then like, but yeah, I like your city cowboy kind of.
It
Like,
is.
yeah, because it kind of is. It's like, oh, this is a life, man. This is great. So wait a minute, I don't have to actually be somewhere. So all you want me to do is like this job right now. I'm on my own recognizance. It is
Yes.
fucking
Yes.
glorious, man.
That's
I love it.
exactly where I am right
Yeah.
now. Yes. But that's the thing. It's like, and you have people that, especially when they're younger, right? It's
Mhm.
like you see this thing, you see this small place that you're in. It's like the people that are coming from Kansas. It's like, I want to move to the big city, right?
Mhm.
I want to give up all 4 levels of my home that I'm paying $90,000 for, and I want to live in a 75-foot shack for $2,500 a month.
That's crazy.
Right, I get it.
Yeah.
Because you're part of it is like that's your perspective. It seems so different and more
Yeah.
metropolitan, sophisticated. And then when you break it down, it's like, well, you get a lot less place to live, but well, you can eat street food, and
Right.
you can get a hug from a guy in an unauthorized Spider-Man suit that definitely has bed bugs. Like, okay, so
That's
like,
very specific.
dude, have you seen those? I mean, that's the thing. It's like you trade that for that, and based on where you're from. I know when I was younger, I was like, well, that's what success is. It's like you move to someplace big, you're gonna.
Yeah, you make it big. You become a big fish in a big pond. So rather than a big fish in a small pond. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I get that too, man.
I totally
So,
understand. But that's that's where like the city cowboy thing comes in too. Is to the exact other way around. Is like, shit. I was born here, man.
yeah.
It's like,
Well, and that's hard. So that's hard, especially if your neighborhood starts out pricing you, that's a bitch. So,
yes,
and I get that.
yes, that's
All right,
different.
that
Yeah.
that is different, but you also have a little bit of a leg up in that situation too. You know the town, you know the area, you know where to find the backdoor jobs and stuff like that. You got to know people who can get you in somewhere because that's how you get jobs anymore. So, I mean, I don't even fully buy that argument when I hear it from people, but sometimes it's legit.
It depends on the job.
It does depend on the job, yeah. But see, that's the whole point. You have your friend there on Twitter who had, 3 degrees from fucking Yale. Okay, so all right, so you're talking about, and I mean, I don't even know what the degree set was in, but okay, if it's not, if it's in music theory, okay, there's like 5 fucking jobs. You've got to be top 5, all right, in order to get that. And so I see a lot of people who do that, and they just bitch. It was like, well, I did all the things I was told to do. It was like, well, you have to do more than that. Okay, if that's your target. Okay, you got to
Because that's what all those guys did.
absolutely. You got to take a look at the target there and see. It's like, okay, I want to be that guy. Okay, so now my career has taken a couple twists and turns, but I do remember back when I was studying my MBA, there was one guy on the faculty there. I'd like to be that guy. Okay, and it took me fucking 12 years. All right, but I'm that guy now. So and it's
But there were
great.
times when you didn't want to be. You sort of oscillated.
There
You
were
like,
there were times I was getting awful sick of it over the last year. So
I sure am drunk.
and I was drunk a lot. Yeah, that's true. I sure am drunk. Yeah. So but then they just the right person, the right opportunity opened up, and I just happened to be the right guy in the right time. And I've missed so many opportunities over my life because I didn't recognize it. So, it happens all the time.
We got an hour and a half.
That's an hour and a half show right there.
On its
Yeah.
own. If we want to sit there and just actually just like right now make the title and just call it like you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yeah, exactly.
You and I can just, and I'll bet you
yeah.
Will can too.
I guarantee it.
Although he maybe he doesn't think about it that way, but yeah.
Oh, I mean, yeah, no. I mean, and there's very few of them I actually regret, but there are some that I definitely regret.
Of course.
Yeah. So, but then there's a lot that is kind of like, oh, yeah, everything would be all completely different now. And I don't know if I want that, but.
Well, because the flip side then is, right, this is the best way it's been said is you're the sum of your experiences, but that also goes with what you take from them, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So things that to me seemed really positive at the time, in the flip side, have been like, oh, it was the worst thing that ever happened to me. And things that came around was like, well, that was shitty. And then you turn around and say like, I would have committed suicide if that had gone well, right? Or things where
Right,
it's like
yeah.
you really don't know.
Yeah.
It's the hindsight that you take on it and the perspective that you apply, because you're like, well, if I'd have done this, taken this opportunity while I had this attitude,
Hmm.
in 5 to 10 years, I would have been trapped in this scenario,
Yeah.
right? And I would have had no good way to go because I would have blown through way too much money, right?
Sure.
But not having time to do things, I would not have been respecting my health or whatever, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, so at 42, like either I eat the bullet or my health is so badly where I'm just sitting there like, I'm 600 pounds or whatever, right?
Right. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
just,
Yeah. Yeah.
like, I don't know, because whatever you're like, because you're chasing it for different reasons,
Yeah.
right? And that's, I remember, for a time there where you got down, you were like, shit, like, how the fuck could I not get a job as a librarian? I'm like,
Oh
I
man, that was a
remember
long time
that because
ago.
that beat you up because you're like, what the fuck is like,
Yeah.
I've got like 30 years on these people. I'm not injured. I'm not going to hurt myself putting a book up on a shelf.
Yep.
I'm smart enough to do this. And you all went with some fucking old bag lady or whatever,
I don't even know. So it was like the best interview I ever had in my life, and then I go on like a little vacation. So and then expect, all right, I'm gonna come back, have a phone call. It's gonna be fucking great. And it's like nope, didn't even get a call. So it's like what the fuck. Go down there. Yep, they hired some bag lady. It's like what the fuck, man.
And
But now I know. Like you don't know what's going on behind the scene. Whenever you put in for a job, you have no idea what's actually going on. So back there, it could be like, ah, hey man, we promised Agnes this job years ago. We just need to find a couple guys to fucking
yeah,
punch
there's
all
going
the
to be
HR
these couple
buttons.
of people. Yeah, just
Yeah.
like, or yeah, somebody
So,
walked over and said, Agnes, you want to apply for this job.
that happens. That's how I got my current job. So it was like,
That
you want
happens,
to put
yeah.
in for that. And so I was like, okay. So
And this is not a blow against Agnes. She may be actually
she might
like,
be
they're
great.
like, well, we know Agnes.
Yeah.
She's really good.
Yeah.
She's been working 10 times harder than the rest of these fucking
Yeah.
losers.
She shows up 5 minutes early every day and makes coffee. You're not gonna fucking know that. So yeah.
And you turn around and you're like, of course me, I'm like, so what part of my ethnicity did you not like?
Oh yeah, exactly.
Like, come clean so I know what to sue you for.
There is
Right?
almost
It's just
nothing
like,
that is more
Jesus.
controversial that I tell my students. Is like racism is far less common than you think it is, man. So it's not. It's nothing to do with that. That's not why you didn't get the job. You didn't get the job, okay? Because that guy over there, his brother's been here for years. The boss has been saying, "Hey, if we get a job and it comes up and your brother's still available, have him put in for it." That
You know
has
why?
nothing to do with racism, man.
Because his brother actually does a good job, and they're
Absolutely.
like, we'd love to get one more of you in here.
Exactly.
Now, unfortunately, sometimes it turns out it's like,
Yeah, those guys are all white.
well, or the other thing is like, sometimes not all brothers succeed at the same thing.
That does
Sometimes
happen.
they're like, well, we thought we were getting this.
Yeah. But we got
But he's been
Jerry.
drunk 4 times a week.
Yeah. So yeah, like you cannot punch the customers, man. So why didn't you tell us your brother was so angry? Yeah.
And then sometimes you're in that position where it's like, but if we get rid of him, his brother's going to be pissed, and he might leave.
See, this is why you got to be really careful about this stuff, man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
got to be really careful about this stuff.
Now, that doesn't mean, again, I'm not saying that this makes it right. And I'm still going to sit there and say, like, if you're going to spend the time actually, like, if you're going to interview people, then interview them and actually look at them for their merits and say, like, you know what? Like, we came in here, we were thinking Agnes, but the fact of the matter is, like, it just turns out that Jerry here is just twice the all-star that
Oh, yeah,
Agnes
sure.
is.
Yeah.
So at least have that open mind. You could come in there leaning heavily on it. I mean, that's the way fucking, like, odds makers work in Vegas. You come out there, you line up and say, like, well, these are the Chiefs, man. We're expecting them to win by 12.5 points.
Yeah.
Right? But then when you actually play the game, you say, like, well, shit.
Yeah, it didn't go the way
Jets
they thought.
win sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah. Yeah.
So have some earnestness with that. But, like,
That's right. Like, of all the things that I've done in management, I hate hiring the most. I hate it.
how many perfectly good people have you had to say no to?
Lots. Yeah, in order to actually get an asshole. So not realize it. Happens all the time, man. So, You know, people are better at lying than your ability to pick up on it. So, you know, yeah, that's a good rule in life. Yeah, so because the ones that you pick up on, they're the bad liars. So yeah, you're
Right,
right. Yeah.
right, right.
So, you know, and I've seen so many bullshit little tricks that people use in interviews. And then they're like, oh, yeah, this is a surefire way to suss somebody out. And it's like, no, that guy was an asshole. So, yeah, he just beats your system. He knew exactly what I was doing. So, you know,
And he's not doing it because he's coming at it from the angle
no,
of I'm an asshole. He's doing it because he's coming at it from the
I need a
angle of
job.
I need a job.
Yeah, I need a job. Yeah, and that's why I did back to it. It's not yours.
You're
So,
just renting it, man.
you're
It's
just
not.
renting it, man. Yeah, doesn't belong to you.
It doesn't matter if you keep it for 2 weeks or
Right.
17 years, man. It's still not
It's
yours.
not yours. Doesn't belong to you.
I think it's a pretty decent place to end. Look at this synthesizing natural selection. Look how well that worked out.
Synthesizing natural selection. Oh yeah, actually, it did work
That's
out
not
pretty
bad.
good. Yeah,
That's not bad.
Yeah, yeah. So
I guarantee you, we didn't plan that.
oh, we never do. Yeah,
That's not the program.
not that. No, not the program. So clearly not scripted.
No.
Yeah. All right.
Fascinating memories. Thank you, Patrick.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it was a good walk.
Yeah. All right. I'm Pat.
I'm Jeffrey.
Hitting the button.
Thank you.